The design of these cars will not become obsolete for a long time, and the body will remain the same as long, unless, of course, there was a poor quality body repair. Moreover, the BMW paint layer is thicker, and it itself is stronger and of better quality than that of its peers from Asia, so it does not fade for a long time, rubs off much more slowly during washing, and chips, if they appear, do not bloom for years, thanks to the correct metal. True, the headlights can spoil the appearance of pre-styling cars older than 2008. Their glasses crack for no apparent reason, even with cold xenon lamps. So the health of the headlight washers should be monitored especially carefully. Their hose often bursts, and the telescopic drive of the nozzles can play a game called ice figure freeze. Our snow-reactive winters do not really favor electricians either. The most unpleasant victim of pre-styling cars runs the risk of becoming the positive wire of the junction box fuse box, sometimes completely rotting away in 2 or 3 years. You will have to treat the attack by replacing not only the wire, but also the block itself. Due to corrosion in the wiper mechanism, their joints turn sour, then the motor overheats from effort. And if the automatic exterior mirrors are motionless, you can try to lubricate and stir the jammed stopper of the folding mechanism. In 6-8-year-old cars, it is often necessary to grease the bearings of the heater motor. They begin to run dry and whistle non-musically. And if only cold air starts to blow on the passenger side of a car with dual-zone climate control, you won't get off so cheaply. You will have to replace the heater valves located near the engine compartment shield or an additional water pump. Did the heated seats fail? For standard seats, heating elements are inexpensive, but for sports seats they will have to be changed along with the upholstery. The electrics of gasoline engines as a whole mope infrequently, but there is also a sore subject, the throttleless valvetronic system. More precisely, its servo motor, which rotates the eccentric shaft, which regulates the stroke of the intake valves. It is a great achievement to last longer than 50,000 kilometers. Otherwise, only individual ignition coils may be needed ahead of time, and generators can even be written down as centenarians. Sometimes they go up to 200,000 kilometers. The trouble is different. By the same run, the motors themselves may require repairs. The appearance of the BMW E90 3-ruble note was marked by the completion of the production of the M54 engines, the last of the M50's kind, popularly known as the plate and, perhaps, the best Bavarian engines in history. It was replaced by a new generation of M52 with a cunning bimetallic cylinder block. Its inner part is made of aluminum alloy, and the outer part is cast from an even lighter magnesium alloy. Less weight, more power and efficiency, but, for all this, the N series paid with worsened reliability. If for motors of the M50 family, the amount of oil topping up was proportional to the time spent by the tachometer needle near the red zone, then for N52 motors there is no such dependence. A regular addition is always required. The 2.5-liter engine was especially distinguished, about a quarter of cars with this one. Its oil consumption can reach up to a liter per 1,000 kilometers. The reason for this is the unfortunate shape of the pistons and too thin rings, and as a result, catastrophic wear of the cylinder piston group and repairs for at least €2,000. For all gasoline engines, aged valve stem seals can add fuel to the fire by 100,000 kilometers. And the weak points of the most popular 4s and 46, more than a quarter of cars, of the first years of production are a penny sealing ring of the chain tensioner and a valve cover gasket that leaks after 40 to 50,000 kilometers. By the way, the N-series motors do not have the usual mechanical probe. Instead, there is an oil level sensor that displays readings on the onboard computer screen and interprets them very freely. The level can float, and the data update is not too fast. There are also questions about the crankcase ventilation system, which often ceases to cope with its work after 60 to 70,000 kilometers. The oil separator membrane, €90, may fail, but plastic pipelines are more often clogged with deposits. It's not worth pulling with the repair, otherwise very soon you will have to spend money on the valve hydraulic supports offended by the starvation ration. They are inexpensive, but the 6s have 24 of them. After 110 to 120,000 kilometers, you will have to look after the vacuum pump. By itself it is quite reliable and lasts up to 200,000 kilometers, but if oil streaks are observed around, it's time to change its gasket. And you also need to carefully protect the health of the cooling system, especially for long inline 6s. They are extremely sensitive to overheating. The engine compartment is very cramped, the thermal balance is without a margin of strength, and there is no coolant temperature gauge on the dashboard. At least once every couple of years, it is worth cleaning the gap between the radiators, which, by the way, can themselves be firmly concrete thanks to small honeycombs already by 70,000 kilometers. For the sake of prevention and saving your own money, you need to preventively, once every 50 to 60,000 kilometers, change the cap of the expansion tank, the valve of which tends to quietly jam. A radiator, thermostat, or water pump damaged by excess pressure will cost much more. By the way, the electric pump, and without that, sometimes does not live more than 100,000 kilometers. One thing is good: the problems with the fan inherent in the previous generation of M Series 6s have disappeared. Not the most reliable design with the thermal coupling has given way to an electric one. And the chain in the gas distribution mechanism can be considered eternal. For peace of mind, after 100 to 120,000 kilometers, it is advisable only to preventively change the hydraulic tensioner. But diesels have the same chain, the main ambush. More precisely, one of them became famous, the four-cylinder turbo diesel of the new N47 series, 2.0L, 115 to 184 horsepower, with an aluminum cylinder block that appeared on the 3 rubles in 2007. After 80 to 120,000 kilometers, his chain can weaken to such an extent that it jumps over a couple of teeth of the drive sprocket or brakes. In both cases, the result is sad. BMW has been struggling with this trouble for more than a year, trying various options for dampers, tensioners, and tooth shapes. By the way, the sprocket on the crankshaft is made integral with it, and at the same time completely changing engines under warranty. But the owners of cars with this unlucky engine are still forced to drive and listen carefully. Did a strange ticking appear from under the windshield? Moreover, the ill-fated timing drive is located in the rear of the block, and it is problematic to monitor its condition. And to replace the chains, you will have to remove the engine. We especially do not advise owners of post-warranty cars to wait for the appearance of sawing noise in the upper part of the engine, vibrations in the body, and loss of power. Let the replacement of the timing drive cost 1,500 to 2,500 euros, but an open circuit means replacing the engine. A new one costs about 10,000 euros, which is more than half the cost of used E90s with such an engine, so most owners in trouble prefer to install used engines with an unknown pedigree from Europe. Against this background, the old cast-iron M-Series turbo diesels, 2-liter M47 and 3-liter M57, look almost good, although they are not perfect. After 140 to 150,000 kilometers, you need to sniff them. It smells of burnt rubber, which means it's time to change the crankshaft pulley with the torsional vibration damper. In addition, be kind enough to listen to the 3.0 diesel. The steel exhaust manifold often cracks. And closer to 200,000 kilometers, both engines will also have to look closely, now to their intake manifold. If there are traces of oil near the dampers of the vortex channels, urgently go to the service. A damper with a broken axle has every chance of doing trouble, hitting it straight into the cylinder. There are far fewer questions about the transmission. To the X-Drive all-wheel drive system, for example, they are not at all. The GetRag 6-speed mechanics, fundamentally the same for all versions, also does not require increased attention to itself. Just change the clutch after 180 to 200,000 kilometers. But the automatic 6-speed of the 6 HP series is not the most reliable, although a very common product from ZF. In addition to BMW, it was bought by Audi, Volkswagen, and Land Rover. It may require the first, inexpensive intervention after 120 to 150,000 kilometers. Replacing leaky seals and gaskets will cost 250 to 300 euros. And with the higher mileage, the torque converter, clutches, and the electronic hydraulic control unit fall into the risk group. Here you already have to fork out for 1,500 to 3,000 euros. On powerful versions of the 3 rubles, it is worth listening to the rear axle. If light clicks appear during intensive acceleration, immediately change the loose nut of the driveshaft flange attached to the main gear with a special lubricant. Otherwise, the cardan may fall off on the go. Suspension is not the strongest side of the 90s. Every 30 to 40,000 kilometers, stabilizer struts are handed over, and for pre-styling cars, their bushings, after their material was replaced with a more durable one. As a gift for the anniversary of 100,000 kilometers, shock absorbers and front suspension arms can come in handy, and the rear, after 120 to 140,000 kilometers. It is noteworthy, But for all-wheel drive, Treshki, the suspension gets tired even earlier than for rear-wheel drive ones, while the X versions in the previous E46 body, on the contrary, were much stronger. There are steel levers, not aluminum ones. Even the front-wheel bearings, which the E90 changes along with the hub, even those with the single drive last more than 200,000 kilometers, and with the full drive they last 2 times less. The same imbalance, and with seriously loaded brakes, which work not only for their intended purpose, but also as part of the ESP system, and as an imitation of blocking. Brake discs, together with the second set of pads with an X drive, can be erased not by 70 to 80,000 kilometers, but by 50,000. But to monitor the cleanliness of the calipers in all versions, you need to be equally careful. Due to elevated temperatures, they quickly become covered with a caked crust of dirt and the brake pads begin to seize. Moreover, the flanges of the hubs, on which the wheels sit, are strongly oxidized from heating, after which it is very difficult to remove the latter. The reliability of both the conventional steering rack and the mechanism of the active steering system is not bad. If after 100,000 kilometers a backlash nevertheless appeared, do not rush to sin on the rail. Maybe the point is in the steering shaft cross. But the hydraulic booster pump is able to put a pig if, after 150 to 160,000 kilometers, you miss the timely replacement of the unit buzzing with wear, the chips scatter throughout the system, and then the rail will definitely not be good. Alas, in terms of reliability, the BMW E90 has noticeably lost ground compared to its predecessor, the E46. We especially do not recommend taking used cars with a 2.5 petrol, 6, and a 2-liter and 47 diesel engine. But less problematic 3-liter gasoline engines and old-school, cast-iron diesel engines are another matter, especially when paired with trouble-free mechanics. Better post-styling.